Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really big shift in how we all buy and sell. We're going to explore why the feeling a product gives you is becoming way more valuable than the product itself.
So get this. In 2024, one company pulled in nearly $500 million in revenue.
And they did it by selling this, a plush toy. Now, while huge global toy giants were actually seeing their sales drop, a UK brand called Jellycat saw its revenue grow 64 times in just over a decade. I mean, that's insane.
So what in the world is their secret? It's not some crazy new technology, and it's not some limited edition piece of art. The answer, though, it reveals a really powerful change in what all of us are looking for as consumers.
Okay, so let's get into it. The market is shifting its focus away from what's traditionally been called CP value, cost performance value, to something much more human, something called emotional value.
And this slide, this really just nails the whole shift we're talking about. See, in a super crowded market, where all the products start to look and function pretty much the same, the brands that win are the ones that actually connect with us on an emotional level. It's not just about what a product does anymore. It's all about how it makes you feel.
Now, this isn't just happening in a vacuum. Product features just aren't a big deal anymore. And maybe more importantly, we're all living in pretty high-stress times, which creates this deep need for, psychological comfort. This has totally fueled what's being called the kidult economy, where 1 out of every 5 toys is now bought by an adult for themselves, just looking for a little dose of relief and nostalgia.
All right, so how exactly does Jellycat pull this off? Let's break down their strategy and see how they turn a simple plush toy into this powerful emotional experience. They pretty much follow a 3-step method. First, and this is absolutely key, they don't just sell toys, they create characters. Every single one, like their famous bashful bunny, has its own personality, a little story, traits that make them feel less like an object and way more like a little companion.
And this quote, it just says it all, doesn't it? Every toy even comes with an adoption card, framing it not as a product you bought, but as a companion you need to care for. That simple act deepens the emotional bond and literally transforms a purchase into a relationship. Okay, second, they design these totally unique, shareable shopping experiences. So instead of just sticking a toy on a shelf, they might create a pop-up shop that looks like a little restaurant. You order a plush hamburger, and then they cook and package it for you right there. It turns a simple purchase into this memorable event you just have to tell people about. And third, they build a real community. The brand's whole core is about sharing, and this has led to billions, with a B, billions of views on TikTok, with everyone from regular fans to huge celebrities like Blackpink's Jisoo posting about their Jellycat buddies. This community gives the products a life and a meaning that goes way beyond the store.
But hey, this whole idea of emotional value isn't just for toys. Let's look at another example from a completely different and super competitive market, coffee. We're going to take a look at a brand called Caffeine.
Cafe N had this brilliant realization that people weren't just buying caffeine, they were buying a moment of peace. In a world full of coffee shops designed for you to stay for hours, their minimalist spaces are deliberately built for just a brief, restorative pause from a crazy day.
So here's their big play. They create these composite stores. They partner with completely different kinds of businesses, like a high-end car wash or a premium cycling shop, to create a whole new kind of emotional experience that actually helps out both brands.
And the results were, well, they were powerful. Partnering with the cycling shop brought in 20% more new customers and boosted daily sales by 20%. But look at this. The meal attachment rate jumped to 68%. That means the coffee didn't just bring people in, it made them stay. It transformed what could be a kind of intimidating high-end bike shop into this warm, welcoming community hub.
Okay, so we've seen how powerful this is in the real world. Now, how can you apply it to your own brand or business? Let's break down the 3-part framework for building that emotional value.
It all starts with a clear value proposition. What do you really stand for? Think about Muji. They don't just sell minimalist stuff. They sell the idea of a simple life. Second, you have to wrap that value up in some compelling storytelling. And then finally, you develop a brand persona, a personality that brings that whole story to life in every single interaction you have with a customer.
But here's the thing, and this is so important. To do this right, you have to understand your customers' hidden motivations, and that means you've got to move beyond those surface-level questions about features and price.
Real insight comes from digging deeper. You start at the surface with surveys. That's what people say they want. Then you look at behavioral data, what they actually do.
But the real magic happens at the next levels, psychographics, which is all about understanding their values and lifestyles, and sentiment analysis, which uncovers how they actually feel. That's how you discover their hidden needs, that desire to feel understood, or unique, or safe.
Look, in an age where just having a product that works is the bare minimum, the ability to connect with people on an emotional level, well, that's what's going to define whether a brand survives and grows.
So, for anyone out there building a business or a product or a brand, the most important question you can ask yourself is this. Besides solving a problem, what does your product soothe? The answer to that question? That's where you'll find your next and most loyal customer.
喜欢这种学习方式，欢迎订阅我的频道，让我们一起用下一个10分钟，把商业英文变简单。